Well, a few words on the precipice of another Greek, a chapter in the Greek money crisis. Today, Greece, the Greek government apparently closed the banks. People are lined up to get money. They can't get money because it was a run on the bank, so they closed the banks. And tomorrow there's supposed to be a big decision, you know, as to what to do, because if the European Central Bank lets Greece slide out from the Eurozone, they're afraid that there could be an avalanche of Portugal and Spain and Italy and who knows, an avalanche, right? So even though it's completely chaotic to keep just giving them money to bail them out, they gotta hang on a little bit longer, right? Because as I see it, we can learn a lot from little old stories. The one I talked about a little while ago called Yertle the Turtle, right? The story of Yertle the Turtle was, here's this megalomaniac who put himself on this precipice with the backs and the bodies of all the others. And up there he was on his throne. He could see everything. But eventually it becomes unstable, right? It begins to crack. And this is what I see, and it's a very, very small story of this bigger story that's going on, right? Which is that you have megalomaniacs in every group, and the world of people being a big group. And it's almost like you have two extremes of almost like two species if you look at the one end to the other. There are those who want to control everybody, and those who just want to live in peace, right? And on the two, and everybody else in the middle, somewhere on that scale. And those who want to control monopolize the money system, right? Because if you can control the money system, you can control the people. It's like one of the Rothschilds, I believe it was, said, he says, give me control of the money supply and I care not who makes your laws. Because really that's who makes the laws, right? Who controls the money. Now, it's funny how, you look at the big example is the United States, of course, right? And the government gives the right to a cartel to print money called the Federal Reserve. It's neither federal nor is it a reserve nor is it a bank. But it's a cartel that is just in private hands, my understanding is. So they not only have the right, but they have the monopoly to print money and adjust it as they wish. Somebody else goes into business, a money business, sets it up. He's in jail. The guy who produced that Liberty dollar, right? He's in jail because he's a counterfeiter. But the Federal Reserve, even though it's doing exactly the same thing, is not a counterfeiter. This is how, unreality becomes reality in this fantasy world of domination. But the reality of it all is that all of these Yertles the Turtles, they'll fall down eventually, right? And you start to see the cracks. In the story of the Yertle the Turtle, remember at one point somebody burped down below, somebody shuffled, there was discontent started to grow, and then eventually the whole thing came crashing down. And, each time these benchmarks come along, like, we've run out of money again. And there's all this rumbling in the background, and the people are starting to protest. And all. That's the guys down below starting to hiccup, right? And if they can get it together a bit by another injection of the cocaine called European Central Bank injection, then they'll just prop it up for a bit longer. But it's all setting it up for a grander fall. Because after all, if all the people in the Yertle the Turtle Tower are just done with it at once, Yertle's coming down for a major crash. That usually seems to be how it is, right? What can we learn from this? Well, we can just learn a story, right? We can learn a little bit about ourselves and a little bit about human psychology. That spectrum, right? That spectrum of those who see everything as separate and therefore they got to get theirs, right? They got to be on top of the Yertle pack. And there's the other side of the spectrum, which is just you know, um, what's why do I have why do I have it? You know, the other side of the spectrum is almost the point is, um, what is it for me to tell somebody else what to do if they're not harming me, kind of thing, right? But we're all probably somewhere in that spectrum, a little bit, or some more days we're over here maybe, and some days we're over here. But I think it just teaches us something about how the human nature is to want to get something off of somebody else, you know. And that's all this is. This is the result of just greed over the years, right? There's no need for this. Maybe there is a need for it, because maybe it's our destiny. That's what we have to learn by, you know, falling down, like saying, well, kids got to learn a bicycle by skinning their knee a few times, probably, almost certainly, right? Um, and humanity has to learn by just getting its head bashed in by over and over again experiencing the whole Yertle experience. And we seem to grow a step towards more enlightenment each time we have this fall. So, you know what? If it crashes, it crashes. And it's about accepting what is. There should be no surprise here, none whatsoever, because every one of these false empires, these ivory towers, comes crashing down, and Greece will be one of them, you know, and others will happen, and it'll eventually happen to every so-called country. I mean, try to find a country that in history has not crashed. They all have, because they're all just based on a Yertle the Turtle tower. That's it. You know, it's like just, you know, some people standing on the faces of others. I don't think it's any more um, complex in theory than that. It's just the way it is, right? If somebody can stand on somebody else's head and think they're going to get ahead, I got think they're going to control ahead. Um, no, if people can do it, it doesn't matter. I mean, you know, slavery existed for, still it goes on in many cases, and from a rational sense, we know what's wrong. People will do it. People will think people through a meat grinder if they think they can make a buck off of it. And unfortunate, yeah, I guess it is. Certainly is painful for the people in the meantime, but it seems to be the way humanity is geared. You know, no amount of telling people that, you know, put your siren on, get ready for this, it helps, because people just tell you, oh, you're an alarmist, you're a conservative, you know, you're one of those pro-enterprise or pro-free trade people or something. I mean, you get all this nonsense that comes out of people when when somebody tries to tell them that, you know, the way we're going is just going to hit a brick wall. Because most people are just, understandably, most people are just thinking about their next meal and their next orgasm. I mean, I think it's as simple as that, really. But when we can wake up a little bit, we can realize that this stuff really doesn't matter, in a way, right? Because as long as we work on ourselves, make the best of ourselves, that doesn't really matter. But we learn a little bit about ourselves by looking at the vast majority of humanity, because there's a little bit of them in each one of us. Tendencies, right? There's tendencies for us to be Yertle the Turtle. There's tendencies for us to be all those different turtles on the scale, right to the bottom one, the one that's had its head stomped on the most. There's the tendency of all of that within us. So by seeing it, we can realize, we can learn, we can wake up, and we can become aware of even the emotions of the feeling of being in those situations. When we feel them, we can be more awake, right? So it helps with self-knowledge, I think, which is really important. In the meantime, we just enjoy the fireworks and, you know, wish the best for people as they go along. We can't really change people, I don't think. Not by trying to tell them to change anyway. Perhaps the only way we can change is by being a good example. You know, we're a good example. We change ourselves, we build ourselves up as best we can, become, you know, the most healthy that we can be, the most mentally engaged that we can be, the most emotionally honest that we can be, the most honest with other people, and so on, eventually we gain what's like kind of like a social capital, right? Which that I say begins to change people in a way, begins to influence people in a positive way. But to try to do them this sort of thing to the people doesn't change. In fact, it actually reinforces their stance. But in the meantime, if we can learn from these sort of things, all the better. In the meantime, I wish the best for the Greek people as they go through these times of tribulation, and that they can see the silver lining in the experience, as there always is a silver lining in everything. Hope this is valuable. Steve here again. Great chatting. We'll talk again soon. Bye for now.